Awesome. I'm calling in from Florida. Oh, Germany, that's cool. My brother lives in Straubing, Germany. I'm going to see him in a couple months, so I'm excited about that. Yes, a recording will be sent out of this as well. I am currently calling in from Miami, Florida, originally from Sweden, but located in the US now. Yes, a recording will be sent towards the end of this or at the end of the recording. All right, I'm just gonna give everybody a couple minutes to join, make sure sometimes we get some late stragglers. There is a poll that was sent out just asking where you are at in the process of your green card. So just feel free to answer that. It looks like most people are planning to start as an individual, which is great. We will get into that a little later on. Okay. All right. It looks like people are starting to slow down with joining. All right, I'm going to end the poll here, and then we are going to get started. All right, everyone can see my screen? Perfect. Today, we are here to talk about your path to the permanent residency for the US. My name is Victoria Samuelson, and I'm a global workforce consultant here for Deel, specifically in the mobility sector. I have been here for almost 2 years now. My parents were originally from Sweden, but immigrated to the US, although that was some time ago, and immigration has since changed, which we'll be talking about today. I'm also joined by two of my wonderful teammates, Val and Caddy, who will be answering your chat in the Q&A or questions in the chat in the Q&A and in the chat section. I will not be monitoring that, but I will answer questions towards the end of this webinar. All right, let's get into it. So today we are going to be talking about permanent residency here in the US. So we'll get through how Deel can help, different paths, the different green cards that we work through here with Deel, how to get the green card, and then how we can help. Working with Deel. So Deel is trusted by thousands all over the world, and we currently serve 40+ countries. We help with one-on-one support, we help with eligibility, and we can also help with sponsoring through Deel or through your own entity. It is very case by case, which is why we always suggest that you book a call with us. Here is an overview of all the 40 countries that we do serve right now, and each day that is growing. For the US specifically, we do have a great track record. We have a 98% approval rating for H-1Bs, O-1s, and green cards. We've helped 1,000+ individuals from all over the world relocate and achieve their dreams of coming to the US. And we have great processing times as well. So the different paths to the green cards. What we will be talking about today is the EB-1A, which is the extraordinary ability visa that allows you to skip the perm process. The EB-2, so there's two different EB-2 categories that we will be walking through, the EB-2 perm and the EB-2 NIW. The EB-1B is for outstanding professors and researchers, and then the EB-1C, which is for managerials or executives within a company. The EB-1A. So the advantages of the EB-1A is you get to skip this perm process, which can take roughly about a year and a half. But for the EB-1A, we get to skip that, and there's no sponsorship needed. So what I mean by that is an individual can self-sponsor, meaning a company doesn't have to be a part of the petition. But a part of that is also having a proposed endeavor plan or a job offer to show how you're going to be doing that work, even though you're hitting the criteria. Who qualifies for the EB-1A? So for the EB-1A, we are making an argument that you're in the top 1% of your field. So as long as you're able to hit the 3 out of 8 criteria for the EB-1A, then really anyone can qualify for it. What we can typically see is a startup founder, individuals with business achievements, people that have had critical roles at different companies, have been featured in the press, or potentially even had a high salary. I'll get into the different criteria shortly here. The extraordinary ability. So the description is applicants must be able to demonstrate extraordinary abilities in their field. So in science, art, education, business, or athletics, it really depends on what your field is and what we would be making the argument for. I mentioned earlier that there's going to be 3 or 8 criterion for you to make a case. You'd hit 3 out of 8. So originally it was for Nobel Prize winners, Olympic medalists, but now we're able to make more of like an entrepreneur, tech, or engineer, just really depends. But we've kind of shifted the argument to broaden the individuals that are able to apply. So for the EB1A, you must first either, again, have a Nobel Prize, Oscar, Olympic medal, or hit 3 out of 8 for the extraordinary abilities criteria. Not only do you have to hit the 3 out of 8 criteria, there is also a merits test that you have to pass. So what that is an immigration officer actually sits down with your petition and deems if you are in the top 1% and that you are in a position to be able to do so. Here are the 8 different criteria for the EB1A. So the first one we're looking at is original contribution. So here, let's say you are a startup founder, you have a company. How we would be able to use your company is if it's original, unique, and novel to its field. How we would support that argument is through revenue, VC funding, bigger companies you're working with. We do need to show that your company has had success and had traction for it to be an original contribution. If you don't have that, then potentially an approved patent would also suffice for original contribution. Awards is the second criteria. So the more traditional route is looking at awards that your company has won. It's selective and you were chosen because of the success that you've had. Or what we could also see is VC funding. So if your company has gone through funding rounds, then that could help with the awards criteria. Membership is the third one. So it is looking at a membership where you went through a selective process to be chosen. We typically like to see the acceptance rate be around 5%, no paywall. And an example for that is if your company went through an accelerator would hit this, or very, very high levels of IEEE. The fourth is press. So typically we see more international press makes a stronger argument. Anything that's going to be local and regional doesn't necessarily make too strong of an argument. That being, we are making an argument that you're in the top 1%. So having high level press is going to make a strong argument. So an example is like CNN, Forbes, really depends on what you're able to get. The fifth one is scholarly articles. So here we're looking to see if you've published anything that's gone through an editorial process, like IEEE, Forbes, Times of India, Google Scholars with citations. The sixth is critical employment. So here we're looking at you having and isolating your role as a director, VP, executive, within a company that also has a distinguished reputation. And what I mean by distinguished reputation is that the company, we would be looking at the employee count, revenue, bigger clients you're working with, VC funding. We do need to show that the company you worked for has had success within its field as well. The seventh is high remuneration. And what that means is high salary. So we want to see that you've been paid in the top 10% of your field for your job title and location. So it's important to note that we will be looking at where you're on payroll. You're not going to be compared to, let's say you are in Germany. You're not going to be compared to individuals in the US. It would be Germany. And the eighth is judging. So here we're looking to see if you've judged the work of other professionals in your field, such as a pitch competition or hackathon. When you are looking to do judging, anything that's in school doesn't necessarily make a high or strong argument because the government wants to see that you've judged professionals in your field. So it would be more like a well-known event where you were selected to be on a panel, and we would also be looking at who was on the panel for or with the event. So again, 8 different criteria for the EB1A, hitting 3 out of 8. We are making an argument that you're in the top 1% of your field. In the field, it depends on where you've seen the most success with, which at the end of this call, we'll provide a booking link so we can discuss more about your case specifically and see where your case stands. All right, so that was the EB1A, and now we are on to the EB2 categories. So the first one we're going to talk about is the EB2 perm. So the EB2 perm, we could typically see individuals with an H-1B go for the EB2 perm route. So the EB2 perm, your company is backing you. They are backing you through the whole process. There's no way to self-sponsor this. A company is involved with each step. So for employees, it is a path to the green card. It allows you to live in the country with your green card status, and it puts you on the path for citizenship as well. For employers, a benefit is that you can hire talents from all over the world, and this can be something that you're able to offer them if it's something that they're looking for. Again, loyalty, because you are helping sponsor their green card, and there's no renewal that is needed once you help them through the process. So unlike the EB1A, the EB2 perm is going to have 3 steps. So I mentioned earlier that the EB1A, you skip the perm process, or the perm process. So here, the perm process is the first step, and it can take about roughly a year to a year and a half. So what we're doing, or what the company is doing, is they're looking to gather evidence to show that you're the only individual that is suitable for this job, and then also going through different prevailing wage stages. So the U.S. employer here submits an application for perm labor. Once that is approved, we are then filing the I-140, which is the second step of the green card process. Those first 2 steps is what locks in your priority date. And then once your priority date is current, that is when you would move to the 3rd step of the process. I'll talk about a priority date and adjustment of status a little bit later on. So that is the EB2. So how you qualify for that is through either having an advanced degree, so a master's degree in the field you're working with, or having a bachelor's degree and 5 years of post-work experience. Or if you don't have either of those, that's okay. Then we want to see that you do have exceptional ability. So you're meeting at least 3 of the criteria below. So either a related certificate, degree, diploma, 10 years of related full-time experience, a license or certification, high remuneration, which again is looking at your salary, being that it is in the top 10%, being a part of a membership in a professional association. So again, being very selective, roughly around 5% of that. And then the last one is if you have a recognition of achievement, so award. An example for this would be if you have a bachelor's degree, 3 years of experience, and you meet 3 out of the exceptional abilities, you don't have to have the advanced degree category. The next EB2 is the NIW, so it is the National Interest Waiver. The advantages of the EB2 NIW is, again, it is the first step of the green card process. There's no minimum salary that is needed. Again, the EB2 NIW gets to skip the perm process, so it is a little bit faster than the EB2 NIW. The EB2 NIW can also be self-sponsored. So what I mean by self-sponsored is you need to show what your proposed endeavor is in the US, and how you could typically do that is having job offers. Having that proposed endeavor and job offers doesn't tie you to those companies, but it shows how you're going to be doing that work in the US. Because you can't just qualify for the NIW, you need to show how you're going to be doing that work in the United States. So once you get your approved I-140 through the NIW, it is tied to you. and that does not expire. For the EB2 NIW, you don't necessarily have to have a college degree, but there's other ways to make up for if you do not have a degree. The EB2 NIW requirements. So it's going to be broken down into two parts. So it's one, either having an advanced degree in the field that you're going to be working in, or proving that you have that exceptional ability. That was similar to the previous visa we talked about. The step two is passing the three-prong test. So step one is having a master's degree or higher, or having 5 years of post-work experience after getting your bachelor's degree. A common example is you have a master's degree from a US university. You don't have to hit the exceptional ability. Or if you have a degree and you also have 5 years of post-work experience, then that also helps you not have to hit the exceptional ability criteria. Again, it's going to be similar to the EB2 perm, where it's these exceptional abilities, so a related degree, certification, 10 years of full-time experience, either having a high salary, winning an award. You'd have to hit at least 3 out of these to make up for having no degree. The three-prong test. So here is really like the core of the NIW. It's really isolating your work and what you're going to be doing and proving that it is of national interest to the United States. So the first prong is your work has substantial merit and national importance. So substantial merit is, why is your work important? Is it important to business, science, tech, culture, education? Like, we need to isolate why it's important, and then also show why it's nationally important to the US. So is it going to have a national implication? Will you impact the economy through your job? Are you going to be creating jobs? Like how is the US really going to benefit from you coming to the US with this? The second step is proving that you are well positioned to do the proposed work that you're showing. So how we do that is we look at your past and your future. So when we look at your past, we're looking to see what success you've had so far, like media coverage, membership, awards, publication, potential funding. How is your company doing? Have you had a critical role? What have you done in the past that now proves that you could potentially do it in the future? And when the future comes in is if you're your own company, then having a business plan as to how you're going to expand into the US. Or if, let's say, you are an individual, like an employee in a company, like, do you have job offers of how you're going to be doing this work? So there's ultimately a couple different ways. So it's one, if you have your own company, or if you're going to do the self-sponsored route, is having that proposed endeavor and having potential job offers a part of that, to show that not only have you had success in the past, but here's how you're going to do it in the future, and the US will benefit from that. The third prong is really making an argument that we should be skipping the perm process as the EB2 perm has. So we are showing that what you're doing is really that important, that we can't wait that time and we need that individual in sooner than the EB2 perm. So even assuming other qualified US workers are available, the US will still benefit from what you're going to be doing. Is your work time sensitive? Would anything progress in the field or be hindered, like if you are not in the US? So ultimately, we're taking what you're doing. We are proving to the US that they need you here, and here is why, and here is how you're going to be doing it. And here is an example for the NIW. It is substantial merit to advance tech and science. So it's nationally important because technology can be implemented nationwide to enhance public safety. So there's so many different reasons as to why we could position your work that it is of national interest. It's just really taking the time to research and understand what you're doing and being able to position it in a way that it makes sense to the government, which our attorney team is so amazing at what they do that we would be happy to discuss your case and see if there is an NIW case there. All right, moving on to the EB1C category. So typically what we could see the progression to EB1C is if an individual comes in on an L1A visa, they're coming in as a managerial or an executive position. And then once they've been on the L1, they go for the EB1C path. So it's the green card version of the L1A. So the description is applicants must have been employed for outside the US for at least 1 out of the 3 years, and then have a company in that US has to have a relationship with a foreign entity for them to be able to transfer. They also have to be in a managerial or an executive position. And evidence, the petitioner must be a US employer intending to employ this applicant, again, in a managerial or an executive capacity. And they have to have been doing business in the US for at least a year. So for the EB1C, it's really looking at one, the tenure, what their role is, and the success the company has had. So what has the growth been? What revenue do you have? Like, do you have funding? It's really how the business is doing does hold heavy weight into how you qualify for the EB1C. And it cannot be self-sponsored. It is going to be tied to a specific company, and they would be the one helping you see through the process. Okay, well, we touched on all of the green cards now, and now we are going to get into some happy customer stories and then talk about how Deel can help, and then we will wrap things up. Customer story. So here we are looking at the EB2 NIW specifically. So we had the first step, exceptional ability. So this individual had an accounting and finance degree from the University of Melbourne. He went through Techstars and Helix. He had high remuneration, so he was able to prove his high salary plus his equity. And then he also had VC funding, top prizes, and won grants, and was also mentioned in the press. So he's taking quite a few boxes on that end. And then step 2 is we prove the 3-prong test. So for him specifically, he promoted the US economy and technological growth by improving data management in the agriculture industry. And then we proved that he had higher or more well-known companies that he was working with. We showed that he was well positioned to succeed. So we looked at his past accomplishments, company awards that they'd won, different accelerators he went through, earned revenue, and that he did hire US workers. The government does like when you do apply for a green card, such as the EB1A or EB2 NIW, and you have your own company, that you have started to expand into the US and you've hired US workers. And then for the third prong, how does he waive the perm process? Well, he benefits the national economy in the times of the COVID times. And then he benefits the health of American people and helps create jobs. How it would be working with Deel. So for Deel, what really sets us apart is we have a screening call because we understand that every case is different. And we also want to make sure that you do qualify before moving forward with you. We understand what it takes to put together successful petitions. So in a case where we maybe see it's not the strongest petition, we'll suggest a couple of things that you could do before actually moving forward because we want to get you that approval. So the screening call, you would meet with one of my colleagues or I to discuss your case, see how it is. And if we decide to move forward, we would move forward to our onboarding stage. We do have an onboarding team that can jump on calls, answer emails, and support you with any questions you have along the way. Once we have all the information from you, you will get an attorney team that is assigned to your case. You'll have a case strategy call. They'll be there to support you. But ultimately, what we are here to do is take all the stress from a very stressful situation and do all the hard work on your behalf. We'll be putting together support letters. We put together everything, and we want you to kind of take a passenger seat through the process, and we can update you as you need. But really, we are here to work hard and get you that approval. We'll send you the petition for a final review, and then we'll ship it off. So the government processing times, all the green cards are able to get premium processed, meaning that the government, once we ship, the government will respond within either 15 business days or 45 business days. So premium processing is a fee that we pay directly to the government, and the fee that they charge is $2,805. For the EB1A, all EB1A categories, it is going to be 15 business days. And then for the EB2 NIW, it is 45 business days versus 15 days. So it is a longer process. Priority date. So what a priority date is for the green card, it's either going to be a two-step process or three in the case of the perm, but we'll go with a two-step for the EB1A and EB2 NIW. Is once we file your first step, you get a priority date, and that priority date needs to match up with the visa bulletin board that the government has. So the visa bulletin board is something that the government updates every month, and it'll show by each category and what the current priority date is. So ultimately, the first step of the green card process is you qualifying and then you getting your place in line, depending on what category you qualify for. So for the EB1A and EB1Cs, there are certain countries that are current, so you could move to the second step right away. But for the EB2 category, they are not current, meaning that people from the past are now just able to move to their second step. So ultimately, you getting your green card depends on where the visa bulletin board is at for you to move to the second step. The second step of the green card process is when you actually receive the benefits of the green card and are able to move forward. Whereas the first step, you're simply just qualifying and getting your place in line. Once your priority date is current and you're in the United States and you have a legal status, then we're going to be adjusting your status. So that means you are moving from either an L1A or an H1B, and we are now moving to the green card step. So with that, it usually takes about 6 to 9 months for you to receive your work authorization and travel documents, which is basically as if you have your green card, but it'll take a year plus for you to physically receive your green card. So again, the adjustment of status is when we are in the last step of the green card process. You've qualified, your priority date is current, and you're ready to adjust. That's when this comes into play. 6 to 9 months for you to receive your work authorization and travel documents, and then a year plus for you to receive your green card. And here's what I touched on is the employment authorization and travel documents. So 6 to 9 months for you to receive these. How we can help. So we have free consultations. We will share our booking link to our team, so you'll get a call with one of us. We have a great blog resource that is very educational and super easy to find if you just go to our website and search keywords that you're looking for help. Office hours, and then we have discounted fees depending on which accelerators you've been a part of, but we would be happy to discuss that on a call. All right, and that is it. I am not sure where we are at with the Q&As, but thank you everybody for following along on my screen share here. It was great to have so many people turn out, and hopefully that you were able to learn a little bit more about your path to the green card, and hopefully we end up working together one day. Thank you, everybody.